Hello, this is Good Morning Transfers. 5 days remain in the summer transfer window. Chelsea are hoping to offload at least 7 players. They also want to sign a striker, but a deal for Victor Osimhen is proving difficult. Now, he's not the only player of interest. Could we see Jadon Sancho heading to Stamford Bridge? Manchester United want to sign Manuel Ugarte. We'll update you on that potential deal. Plus, there could be 2 sales at Arsenal before the deadline and 1 incoming as well. And if you're out and about, you can keep up to date with all the latest transfer news with our dedicated Transfer Centre blog. All you have to do is scan the QR code on your screen right now. And don't forget, we'll have wall-to-wall coverage this Friday on Deadline Day. Join the team on Sky Sports News from 7 a.m. A very good morning to you at home, to Dan Bardell, to Flex and to Dave Reed as well. It could be a frantic end to the window for Chelsea. As many as 7 players could leave the club. And, of course, they still want to sign a striker as well. Now, before we get to that, let's start with the possibility of them signing Jadon Sancho. Now, our understanding is that they're looking at both a permanent and a loan. A proposal could include a player being offered to go the other way. I mean, Dan, it's hardly surprising that Chelsea are being linked with Jadon Sancho, another player. Is this a good move for Sancho, for Chelsea? What are you thinking?
Yeah, last week of the window, and I think we all knew that we'd be discussing Jadon Sancho at some point, and of course Chelsea, as we always do as well. Look, Chelsea have had a brilliant weekend. That win yesterday against Wolves, I don't think many people would have seen a 6-2 coming before kick-off. But going forwards, I thought Chelsea looked really, really dangerous. I think there's still question marks at the back. But going forward, I thought they had a lovely balance yesterday, played some really fluid football. And Cole Palmer in that number 10, they've just got to keep him there now, haven't they? He showed yesterday, if you play him in the number 10, he will make things happen. And I think he got 3 or 4 assists in yesterday's game. So that's the number 10 position locked. You then look at the wide positions, and yesterday Chelsea had Neto, Felix and then Kunku on the bench. That's 3 high-quality, world-renowned attacking players that haven't even started the game. Madueke obviously did what he did, scoring a hat-trick, and Mudryk started on the other side. So you'd say now, you look at that and you think, well, in the attacking positions, there's enough there. None of those players are going to leave. If you add Jadon Sancho into the mix, where does he fit? And from Jadon Sancho's point of view as well, you're kind of going from a Manchester United team where there's a lot of attacking options where you kind of feel on the periphery. But if he goes to Chelsea, I think it's probably the same. So in both senses, I'm not too sure about this one.
We'll get to... Thank you, Dan. We will get back to Chelsea in just a second, but Marco Silva is speaking to the media ahead of their Carabao Cup second-round game against Birmingham. We can hear from him right now.
Them all at the same level, yeah.
You mentioned Samson there that you brought in. You've had a very active transfer window. How are you feeling in regards to the fact that there's obviously only more than just over a week left to the end of the window? I know it's probably not the best window in terms of just having all this during the season, and I know a lot of managers don't necessarily like that. But how are you feeling with the squad that you have, and do you feel like you'll be adding more players over the next week or so?
Yes, we are working hard to add another forward player, one player to play on the wide areas of our attack. Is what we are looking for, and we are working, and we have to work really hard to get a player in to help us to be more competitive. Like you are in the other positions too. I think it's been hard work for us as a club. When you lose some big characters in our dressing room, like we lost some big names in our football club last few seasons, like we lost. Of course, it was important for us to be really assertive in the market, to sign players that they can have an impact in our squad, players that with Premier League experience too, because we lost some of them with a massive experience at this level. And I think we did it until now, and now is just the last step for us, last movement that we need to do to add that player for the wide areas of our attacking line.
Lovely, thank you. Lastly, I wanted to ask around Ryan Cherki that if there's been any progress with that, or there's reports of interest when he's looking at his options. Is that someone you're looking at? Looking to bring
I'm not going to talk about players from the other teams. It's not my job to do it. Of course, the market is open, but we have some names. We talk about some names, but I'm not going to mention any name that is not our football player.
Okay. Great game for Emil Smith Rowe. Home debut scoring as well. he's probably a well-loved player amongst the league. It's probably one of the rare times you'll see Arsenal fans probably cheering for a player on the opposing side or another team in London. Just talk to me about what type of player he is, and also how much of a confidence boost that is for someone that hasn't scored in over 2 years, making a debut so early on and really showing their potential.
No, I'm sure that he's going to be. He is already, but I think big room to improve, and he's going to be a really important player for us, for this football club. And he's going to be a player with a great connection with our fans. He's still young, but he's already 24, but he's still young, and he's still in a learning process, because when you are so long time without football, week in, week out, and of course the games and making mistakes, making good actions make you to improve, and of course with the help of the staff and the teammates. But it's going to be important, this process now that he's right now training every single day, playing week in, week out, and of course it's a learning process for him. The quality he has, that is the most important thing. He's different playing in certain aspects. He's a little bit more creative. We are looking for a player in that position that can be decisive in terms of assist, in terms of goals. He has the capacity to arrive in the box, and he has that now. He's not in his best still. He needs time to needs more games to be in the best shape we can, and we are working with him to get him the right track. But of course he already showed the impact that he can have when you play some pre-season games and you are able to score, and you have in 2 games, Premier League games, first home game you are able to score as well is a good sign for us. Is really the reason why you sign and we push really hard to sign a player like him. Let's give him the time that he needs, because he needs time, clearly, in my opinion, but at the same time, let's hope he can keep helping the team at the level that he did.
Lovely, thank you.
Oh, God, I nearly lost my voice there. That was Marco Silva talking in his press conference ahead of Fulham's Carabao Cup game. Let's get back to Chelsea now, because that is what we were talking about, and the reports linking Jadon Sancho to Stamford Bridge. I mean, Dave, Dan sort of alluded to it just before there, that, he's coming into a team with loads of attacking players. Surely the thing that Jadon Sancho needs now is minutes.
Yeah, I think he would get minutes at Chelsea, but it's just simply, is that going to be enough for him? Chelsea are going to have so many games this year with the Europa Conference League added to their schedule. So if Jadon Sancho did end up at Stamford Bridge, I think he would get minutes, but would it be enough for him? I think the next move for Jadon Sancho, as we pretty much talked about last year as well, is probably the most important of his career. And I think there was a very specific set of circumstances where he ended up going back to Borussia Dortmund, a club that he knows well, a manager that he knows well, an environment that he's used to. And it would be a very different situation from him going from Manchester United to Chelsea, where Jadon Sancho would have been very familiar with the setup at Dortmund. It would be totally different for him at Stamford Bridge. And I just wonder whether, from his point of view, he'll be thinking, is that going to be the best environment for me and for my career? Obviously there would be a potential of a longer contract, the financial rewards that come with playing for Chelsea and everything that goes with it. But I think for him, this is probably the most important move of his career. And I think it's over for him now at Manchester United. If he was going to be part of the plans, and I know they kind of buried the hatchet, Erik ten Hag and Jadon Sancho, but if he was going to be part of the plans, I think he would have at least made the bench in the first 2 games. I know he talked about an ear infection, but it seems to me like he needs a move. But the closer we get to the deadline now, his options might well become a little bit more limited in terms of whether it's a permanent or a loan move. So time's running out for him now.
I think that's the key for Jadon Sancho, and that's, like Dave said there, that's probably why he has to leave, because it seems like it's untenable with him in Ten Hag, and I think that the putting to bed of that situation was, I think, more of a business decision from Manchester United in terms of, and sort of with the player on board. And I think Ineos have come in and said, look, right, Jadon, it hasn't gone to plan. If we want to move you on and you want to get the move that you like to get, we've got to get you back in. We've got to get you up to speed. We can't be seen to having, you're training by yourself and there's still a rift here. We can't have that. And I think they've also explained to Eric the same thing. OK, he may not be part of your plans, but in order to facilitate a move, again, we're going to have him part of the squad. He's going to have to go on tour. We're going to have to bring him up to speed. Because if Manchester United want to sell Jadon Sancho and Jadon Sancho wants to put himself in the best stead for the club and for the player, he needs to be fit. He needs to be seen to be happy. Jadon Sancho was doing, media for Manchester United whilst away on tour. So I do believe that was just to get to this stage where he's still sellable, if you get what I mean. So I think it's very clear that it hasn't gone to plan. It's a big shame. It's a really big shame. Chasing him for a couple of summers, wanting him to sign for Manchester United, big expectations, big excitement, and it's another big signing that just hasn't worked.
A year ago today, he made his last Premier League appearance for Manchester United. It's such a long time, and you kind of think now if the role at if he goes to Chelsea, the role at Chelsea has to be explained to him and set out, because it seems like Maresca wants to play with wingers rather than players cutting inside, and where is he going to fit? Maybe Juventus might be a little bit better fit for him, but we'll have to see how the next few days pans out.
Yeah, not long to go now until the transfer window closes. We'll keep you up to date on updates on Jadon Sancho's future. Well, as for a striker, obviously Chelsea have been back in talks about signing Victor Osimhen from Napoli over the last few days. However, any deal must fit into Chelsea's new wage structure they've had under this new ownership. Interest remains from a Saudi Arabian club, Al Ahly, for Victor Osimhen, who are pushing hard to sign him. I mean, Dave, Chelsea got a brilliant result yesterday, 6-2, 4 different goal scorers. I don't know if we sound stupid basing this off one game, but do Chelsea absolutely need a number 9?
I think they would like one. I don't think they
absolutely... So I asked you, Dave.
Well, Nicholas Jackson scored 14 goals last season, and, there's so much noise around Chelsea and the sheer number of players, I'm going to say again, but also the amount of quality that they've got and the depth that they've got. You kind of stick all those players into a team and they will produce something more often than not, probably, just because of the sheer quality of the players that they've got. So I think they would like one. Do they need one? They can get through the season without one, I think. And when you've got João Felix coming off the bench and you've got Nkunku that can play there, there's options for Enzo Maresca. Different types of strikers, I get that. If he wants a kind of powerful number 9, then maybe those aren't the players for him. But if he thinks that that Nicholas Jackson is going to be someone that he can rely on and get goals, then why not?
I think they've kind of gone through the hard period with Jackson, almost come through that, and at the other end of that now, there seems like a striker that's got something that I think will score goals in the Premier League, especially, in the way Chelsea are going to play under Maresca. It would almost be a shame now to kind of abandon that and make him the Europa Conference League striker, which is what I think would happen if they got Osimhen in, because Osimhen's going to command a huge wage. You've just talked about Chelsea's wage structure. But Osimhen would be coming in on a big wage, and if he comes in, I imagine he's going to expect to play. Jackson feels like a character that backs himself as well, and taking him out doesn't feel like it's good for the dressing room harmony. It doesn't feel like that would be something to me that Jackson would accept. So for all the talk of Chelsea needing a striker, I actually think they've got enough within what they've got now, players that can play in multiple positions. And I think they've done so much with Jackson now to kind of take him out. I don't think that makes sense.
I disagree. I think they should go the whole way, right, and just completely go for a big number 9. They've come this far.
But is Victor Osimhen the man? Is Victor Osimhen the man? Because it does just feel like he's the only number 9 out there in the market available right now. So are you just buying him for the sake of it?
Yeah, I think obviously, of course, there has to be a plan. If Enzo Maresca doesn't think that he will fit into his plans, of course not. But at what we've seen at Chelsea is we're not always sure where exactly the direction is coming from. If the manager specifically wants this player, does he get them, or is it more of a strategic move from the board to say this is the type of player we want and want you to have? But if it fits, I mean, Victor Osimhen's a fantastic player. Yes, he had a bit of a season of stagnation last year with injuries and not great form. The season before was absolutely fantastic. And there is still that risk of, OK, Nicholas Jackson, yes, did score quite a few goals last year, and he is young and waiting to come to the forefront. But Chelsea have, I don't know, since Costa, since, Drogba, these types of players, they haven't had that staple number 9, and I think actually Victor Osimhen could be that, and it would be really exciting, and could be like the finishing piece when you look at their front line. It could be. He could be.
You're talking like he's a sure thing, and I don't think after the
That's
last
what I
12
said,
months that he is.
He does.
But Nicholas
Victor
Jackson's not a
Osimhen
sure
does
thing.
fit the mould.
Absolutely.
They've
He's
spent
anything
that
but.
time. They've nurtured him to this point now. It just doesn't make sense to abandon that now.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. David Ornstein was reporting that Chelsea, their interest in Osimhen has been clear, but they don't want to hinder the development of Nicholas Jackson. When you bring in such a big striker, such a big name, he has to play. And what does that mean for Jackson?
Yeah.
So, yes, interesting. Right, now, before the break, we got news from Celtic. Barcelona left-back Alex Valles due to undergo a medical with Celtic today. He'll join on loan with Celtic, paying a fee of around £1.3 million to cover his break wages. Right, still to come on Good Morning Transfers, will Virgil van Dijk sign a new Liverpool contract? Plus, could Scott McTominay be heading to Italy? Welcome back. Napoli have agreed a deal with Manchester United for midfielder Scott McTominay. The fee is understood to be worth over £25 million plus significant sell-ons. Once personal terms are agreed, it'll be up to McTominay to decide if he wants to go. If all goes through, it will aid Man United's move for Manuel Ugarte from PSG. Flex, Scott McTominay, a Man United boy. Would you be sad to see him go?
From that perspective of coming up through the academy to make north of 200 appearances for Manchester United and has always done his best, always put in a shift, never created any drama or anything like that. From that perspective, yes. I think there was a role for Scott McTominay last year that I think Erik ten Hag done really well to identify. And some people can see it as, on the bench. Well, no, there's a little bit more than that in terms of being a goal threat, coming off of the bench and impacting games late on, and being able to dig the team out of holes. And he's someone who's a top pro, top professional. Other youngsters can learn off him. He sets a good example around the dressing room. In a dressing room, actually, that's not had a lot of leadership in it and some bad examples to follow with different things happening with certain players. Scott McTominay is definitely a good egg. But in terms of where Manchester United want to be and the type of football Erik ten Hag wants to play, I think a lot of Manchester United fans would probably see it as a step in a new direction, a different direction.
Do you not think he'd be a good squad player, though?
Yes.
Like, even the role he played last year, if he's happy with that,
yeah.
To have a player like that can impact off the bench, which sometimes we know is difficult. So why is it? Do you think it's FFP reasons?
I think that's one reason, but also I do think it's an overall quality thing as well. I think if you're looking to catch the top sides, Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, etc., you have to look at it and say, would Scott McTominay be in their squads as a squad player? Maybe, potentially not. And that's not to knock any of McTominay's abilities, like I said, because he can offer you something. He's going to be a good Premier League player. He has been a good Premier League player and had a good Premier League career, and looks as though he may go off to Napoli in a different direction. But I think it does, obviously, of course, have financial implications because it's 100% profit. But in terms of bringing in Manuel Ugarte, if that domino of Scott McTominay falls, and that's more what Manchester United need. I think we've seen Scott McTominay play deep in a pivot with Fred for long periods at Manchester United. It wasn't the best in terms of him breaking up play or him progressing the ball. That's not his strength. We actually found what his strength was, which was playing a little bit further ahead. But at Manchester United, we have Bruno, we have Mason Mount, we have two other forwards in Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund. And Scott deserves to play. So I think it's just a natural time, the right time for him to move on. But to answer your original question, would I be sad to see him go? Yes, as a Manchester United lad, but in terms of the overall quality and the direction Man United want to go in, I think it's the right time.
Dan, 25 mil, it looks like it's going to be around that with significant sell-on. Is that good, or is that fee good or bad for someone like Scott McTominay, who's not? I don't think he's in the last year of his contract, or he is with an option to extend for another year.
So 2 years left. You would say on his contract. Probably about right, maybe a little bit more, I would say, when you look at Oliver Skipp going to Leicester for around the same fee. I'd say there's a better body of work for McTominay. He's a bit older, yes, but there's been more evidence of work in the Premier League for McTominay. So I don't think it's a bad fee by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Manchester United obviously just keen to offload him because they need to accelerate now with only 5 days left because they want Ugarte. So I think they probably had to move quite quickly and maybe take 5 million less than that they would have wanted to have accepted. But Flex comes into the office every window bemoaning Manchester United not getting in transfer fees. They just don't get enough in for the players. But actually, looking back since Ten Hag's come in, if you look at some of the players that they've sold and some of the fees that they have extracted, it feels like it's something they have got slightly better at. I'm not saying they're at the level of Manchester City or Chelsea getting fees for players sold, but up until recently, Dan James was one of the only players they'd sold for a big fee. Over the last few windows now, Flex, I would say a lot of them, they have got decent fees in for players without it being really, really extravagant.
I think this was one of the key things for Ineos to come in and try and fix. And the problem that you've got at Manchester United is that Man United have not been where they want to be for a very long time and have been subpar. So therefore, players who have been part of that aren't always deemed as, the best players to kick on at somewhere else. But also, the decisions that Manchester United have made with player contracts and extensions and wages have also made it doubly difficult to move players on, and players are saying, you know, where's my payout? I don't need to move yet. We've seen it. And players are 100% right in their circumstances to say, well, if you want me to leave and I'm not ready to, where's the rest of it coming from? And that's where Manchester United have been a little bit of a hole. So it is something that Ineos are trying to improve on. I think with the players that Man United have got in their squad now, a lot of it is sort of damage limitation because the bad decisions have been made before Ineos got here. So you kind of have to take what you can get, and that's similar to what we're seeing with Scott McTominay in terms of would have liked it to be more, but in the grand scheme of things, with 5 days left in the window, you have to start almost taking what you can get and start taking what you can get and start again.
I think it was just a matter of time before Scott McTominay left Manchester United. You know, you don't need to rewrite history. You know, Man United were talking to West Ham about selling him this time last summer. They were talking to Fulham about selling him this time last summer. Fulham were looking at him again in this window. For me, it was just a matter of time before they ended up moving him on, and it was more about what price United could get for him. And I actually think the price that they are getting for him is a sizable one, and for me, it's a good fee that they're getting for Scott McTominay.
They lost on Saturday, obviously, to Brighton. Sorry, Flex.
It was unlucky.
It was unlucky. The offside goal was actually very unlucky. Did you watch that game, Dave, and think that it was clear Manchester United needed additions?
No, not particularly. I thought United were well in the game, as you mentioned. They could have potentially won it. They've lost the game to a second phase set piece, which can happen. You know, you can probably, if you are going to pick holes in it, you can point to maybe lack of organisation or, you know, lack of leaders, Roy Keane might say, if you're organising yourself in the second phase. But United were well in the game. I thought particularly first half, they were nice and compact and aggressive defending. And, you know, I think some of the reaction from Manchester United fans that have maybe gone a little bit over the top and a little bit negative to that result, I think you have to remember that this is 8th versus 11th. It's not Manchester United top four or chasing the title. This is a different kind of Manchester United team. And I thought they were well in the game and could have won it. I don't think there's any need for an over-the-top kind of reaction to that performance.
Obviously, we mentioned Manuel Ugarte. That's the midfielder that the Manchester United want and looks like it might be close to being done. You said Scott McTominay is perhaps not the player for what Man United want to do. So why is Manuel Ugarte a better fit?
Yeah, it was always the plan. I think he just excels in regains. He excels in physical duels. He can get on the front foot. He's very, very mobile and combative, and he adds much needed physicality to Man United's midfield, and that's exactly why they've been after him all window, and looks like it's going to get done.
Yeah.
Right. Shall we interview a live footballer?
Yeah, let's do it.
Isn't it?
Yes.
We're going to go into the Championship because Coventry are aiming for promotion to the Premier League this season. They've added to their strike force with the signing of Brandon Thomas-Asante from West Brom, and he joins us live now on Good Morning Transfers. Thanks so much for coming on. New club, new surroundings. How are you settling in?
Hi guys, really enjoying my time here so far. It's been exciting to get to know the new faces around the place and really buy into the ambition that is starting to bubble up around here, so I'm excited.
Brighton looks good this morning as well. Who have you connected with in the dressing room? Who are you sitting next to in the cafe and on the bus to the game?
To be fair, we've got a good lively group, so a fair few of the boys, like I tend to butterfly around a little bit, but you got like the likes of, you know, the Jack Rudonis and the Efrons and Milan. I could pretty much name all the squad, to be fair. There's a real good group, and everyone's sort of ambitious, hungry for more, and that's what you really want, and we all have a good time every day, so yeah, that's what you need around the place.
Now, it seemed like you were leaving West Brom and possibly going to Hull, but then Coventry stepped in. Talk us through how your move materialised there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a dramatic it felt like a deadline day. It was nowhere near it, but as it happens for players, sort of, it comes to a time where you assess options, and I was fortunate enough to have a degree of choice, and there were specifically, as you mentioned, Coventry, where I am now, Hull were another really viable option and a strong option. And I've got so much. I can only speak highly, really, of the owner and the manager and everyone at Hull. But for me, it was just about weighing up, you know, what I thought was best as the next step, and being at Coventry right now is a place, as I say, so much ambition. I'm a player who I want to play in the Premier League, and speaking to the manager, he believed that I can do that under his guidance. We've got a squad that's really showing signs that we want to push. Obviously, did so well in the FA Cup last year, got to the semi-finals. In the league as well, they gave us trouble. I know. Even when I played against them, it was a really tough game. So I thought I can definitely see this year as being a positive one. And there's so much ambition. I believe that we can go on and really do great things this season. So I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, I want to talk a bit more about your ambition and everything, and potentially going to the Premier League in a moment. But just tell us, am I right in thinking you almost joined Coventry a bit earlier in your career as well? What happened there?
Yeah, so obviously coming into the professional game, I was around 17, 18 years old. I was in a position where I was coming off the bench a lot at MK Dons, where I grew up and came through at. And I was really relishing that opportunity, and it was an amazing time in my career. And as every young player experiences, you get to a time where you want to sort of establish yourself and have the opportunity to start games and league games and really start to build up that momentum career-wise. And at that point, Coventry, MK Dons were in League One, Coventry were in League Two, and it was really close to happening. And in the end, things had changed, and I'd opted to stay and continue to try my luck at my home club. But it's really funny how things work, and ever since that time, there's always been an eye on what's happening over here. So it's good to be able to experience it, and like you say, the surroundings are not too bad either. So I'm happy.
And you've joined a club who've got plenty of competition as well in the forward areas. What's the dynamic like between the strikers there?
Yeah, no, the good. It's really, really positive. Like I'm fortunate enough. Like even in previous clubs, even at West Brom, there was strong strike competition. As you see, some of them are doing really well now, and it's the same when I look at around the dressing room here. You've got the likes of Ellis and Hadji had amazing seasons last year, and I look at them and I feel like they're really, really strong attacking options. And I believe in myself to be able to come in to contribute as well. I think you have to back yourself as an attacker, so that's definitely what you want to do. And as I say, when you look at the whole squad, everyone's so strong. That's what you want to have going into weekends, playing against the best teams and believing that we can win. And I definitely have that belief in our squad. So.
And you're still waiting for that first goal. How much are you looking forward to getting that first goal, getting on the score sheet? Have you got a special celebration plan for it?
There's always one in the back pocket. We'll be excited to bring it out. But there's no concerns. Just got to keep on getting in those positions, waiting for the opportunities. And I'm excited for when the first comes, and hopefully a fair few after that. So, God's in control, but we'll be patient for it.
Yeah, we'll be waiting. Oxford tomorrow then in the EFL Cup. Only played them last week. It was absolute carnage at the end. What was that experience like in front of the home crowd for you?
Oh, I mean, I'd heard a lot about the home support, but seeing it firsthand, it was unreal. Obviously, circumstances helped that, so thank you, Hadji, for that. But it was a tense atmosphere, a tense game. Obviously, we felt strong in the game and like we dominated. But sometimes that's how games go, where we found ourselves equal going into the last minutes of the game. But as we touched on, and some of my teammates touched on, we believe till the end of the games that we can get something right till the last kick. And, football has a funny way of writing stories, so we're really happy to get that result in the end. Hopefully we don't make it so dramatic in future, but we'll definitely take that. And, we want to win tomorrow as well, so we'll look to do that.
And just to talk about your ambition, I know you're an ambitious guy. How much does that desire burn inside you to become a Premier League player? And do you think you can achieve that with Coventry?
Yeah, as you say, I do. I'm a person who has a lot of ambition. I think reaching the Premier League is just the start of that, but to do something when you get there is the important part. So that's what I'd like to do. But when you look at the club, Coventry as a whole, and the trajectory is really looking positive. The squad is young, hungry, talented. And I look around the dressing room and I definitely back the boys. And I know that we've got that hunger. We've got a point to prove. And obviously, even in recent years, we got down to penalties as much as everyone. We don't want to think on that too much. But it just shows how close the club is to really being on the edge of something great. And we find ourselves in a really strong position. Everyone seems like confident in the squad in ways that might not have even been the case in the past. So, no, we really want to make things happen this year. And there's no one that, personally, anyway, I don't look at any other team and think that we don't fancy our chances. So we just have to go and prove that and do it with our feet. So,
Brandon, great to have you on. Thanks so much for coming on. We'll be waiting for that celebration.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, be ready.
Right, we've got some breaking news to bring you here on Sky Sports News. Celtic are very active today. They've made a £6.5 million bid for Augsburg midfielder Arne Engels. They've also made an inquiry for Lazio winger Gustav Isaacson. So we'll keep you up to date on any further developments on those. Right, time for a short break, but still to come, we'll be discussing Arsenal. 2 games, 2 wins in the league. Will they be adding to their squad before the window closes? Right, to Arsenal now, who could have a busy end to the window. Eddie Nketiah and Aaron Ramsdale's future are unclear. They're hoping to finalise a deal for Mikel Merino. Let's start with Eddie Nketiah, though. We understand Crystal Palace are the Premier League club who are exploring the conditions of a deal after a move to Nottingham Forest fell through. And Dan, 5 days to go. It's not a lot of time. Do you think Eddie Nketiah will still be an Arsenal player at the end of this window?
I've got a sneaky feeling he might be. You know, just with the Jesus injury, it's a little bit unclear at the moment. Obviously, he struggled for fitness generally since he joined the club. I know he's not a striker, but it looks like Fabio Vieira's going to be on the move as well. Smith Rowe's gone. So I look at the attacking areas for Arsenal and think everyone always says they need a new striker anyway. If suddenly you're getting rid of your backup option, you're leaving yourselves quite short. The Forest moves obviously fell through now. I don't know whether Nketiah might just decide, I might get a fair amount of football here, maybe I'll stick around if there's not a move that I truly fancy. So it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously 5 days to go as well. It's hard to get deals done in that time from scratch, which is what this might be now.
I think, you know, as we've said on the shows previously and last week, you know, this is probably the biggest decision of Eddie Nketiah's career, where he goes next. And I just think for him, you know, he needs and he deserves to go out and play at this point in his career. I think he's done enough to be a first-team player in the Premier League, so I think it's vital that he makes the right decision for him. I think from Arsenal's perspective, you know, Mikel Arteta, in quotes carried by The Guardian over the weekend after the game against Aston Villa, did say, we're a little bit short, and if we can do something, then we will do it. So it suggests to me that Arsenal are still in the market for a centre-forward. As you say, the Jesus injury is still a little bit unclear, but certainly if Eddie Nketiah goes, Arsenal, I think, do have to go in for a striker before Friday.
Yeah, right. Southampton have made an offer for Feyenoord goalkeeper Justin Bilo, but they are waiting for confirmation whether or not it's been accepted amid difficulties agreeing a deal with Arsenal for Aaron Ramsdale. I mean, Flex, how much does Aaron Ramsdale need this move?
Yeah, massively. He's 100% obviously not going to be number one at Arsenal. That's very, very clear from last year. You saw the heroics, didn't you, Dan, from David Raya?
I remember.
Yeah.
And he's obviously flying at Arsenal. But for Aaron Ramsdale, he's had a taste of it. He's very ambitious. He's sat for a year now, not playing, only coming in, ironically, for games against Brentford where Raya can play and maybe the odd cup game here and there. But he'll want to go out there and be somebody's number one. And I think actually a lot of Premier League teams, we'll see where it may be, but a lot of Premier League teams or teams in Europe are out there that will be lucky to have a goalkeeper like Aaron Ramsdale. And I think he'll be chomping at the bit to get back on the front foot, get playing again, get his confidence back and be looking towards that World Cup as well in the next couple of years to get into this new-look England side as well and have aspirations of doing that. And he's not going to be able to do that unless he moves.
Yeah, a big few days for Aaron Ramsdale. Well, Arsenal have won 2 out of 2. Another team that have won 2 out of 2 in the Premier League so far is Liverpool. And their captain, Virgil van Dijk, says he's not concerned that his contract situation at Anfield will cause a distraction this season. Of course, the Dutch centre-back's current deal expires next summer.
I want to play the best season I can again. I want to be important and stay important for the club. And this year, whatever happens next year, we'll see. You know, anything happens for a reason. That's how I see it. And for now, there's been no changes in my situation, but I'm very calm about it. And there's no reason for me to start thinking for something else because I have a whole season to play for.
So, Dan, Virgil van Dijk isn't concerned, but Liverpool fans will be because he's in the last year of his contract, as is Trent Alexander-Arnold, as is Mo Salah.
I think Liverpool fans will have an element of trust in the club. They'll know that there's been a lot of upheaval in the summer, but the people that they've got in behind the scenes who deal with transfers, they know what they're doing. I think Liverpool fans will have that trust there. I've actually been, it sounds weird to say this about a team that hasn't really done any business. I've actually been quite impressed with Liverpool this window because I think they haven't rushed into anything. I think Slot's taking stock of what's there, watching the players in training every day, and they've started the season off magnificently with 2 wins. So I think they'll be, obviously Liverpool fans will be happy at the moment. I'm sure they'd like to get players in. On the contract situation, look, it's unprecedented to let 3 high-quality players go into their last year. I think with Virgil and Salah, they're almost the makers of their own destiny. I think Liverpool will look at them as being two players that have been there a long time, have won a lot of trophies, have been part of kind of a new Liverpool. And if they want to stay, they'll get new contracts. And if they want to go, I think they'll see that they've done enough for the club that if they go on a free, it's not the end of the world. It's the Trent Alexander-Arnold contract that's the most concerning, because he is a poster boy for Liverpool. Liverpool fans love him. Everyone knows what it's like having a local player play for your club, someone who's come up through the academy. So I think he's the exception in terms of the contracts.
I mean, it's the first time I've heard anyone say, oh, they've done no business, but I've been really impressed with them.
I think that's what he's impressed by. The fact that
I don't managers coming in and then they want to buy 10, 15 players. I think Liverpool are just good sign of a good manager if he's prepared to work with what's there.
10, 15.
No, not
I bring Chelsea into this. Anyway.
Pleased, very easily pleased.
Very easily pleased. Right, it's been a really quiet window, as we were saying, for Liverpool. Of course, no signings yet. This is what Jamie Carragher has had to make of their transfer window so far.
I think they could go and sign some of the best players out there right now and compete with some of the best teams in the world. Maybe besides Real Madrid, who always have that, lure for players. But I think Liverpool are at the top table. But again, I go back to how Liverpool became successful. And it was being clinical in the transfer market. It wasn't spending money and taking a chance on things. It was when they thought it was right and everything almost ticked the box, they'd go and do it. And I still think they're in that same position. And I'd like them to bring a holding midfield player in. I'd like them to bring in a Nathan Ake type, a Gvardiol, Calafiori, who I think has gone to Arsenal. That type of left-sided centre-back who could do a job at left-back. I think that would be a real fill-up, I think, for Liverpool if they could get someone like that in the next few days. But if not, I would not want them to waste money.
Right, we've got some news from La Liga to bring you. Barcelona defender Clement Lenglet has joined Atletico Madrid on a season-long loan. Right, on the way, we have 5 days to go until transfer deadline day. We'll look at the teams that need to be busy before that deadline. 5 days to go until transfer deadline day. We're looking at 5 teams who must or need to be busy in these next few days. Dave, we're coming to you on Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, Gary O'Neill said after the game they need to do some business before the deadline. I think he needs a little bit of help. They've obviously brought in 2 relatively young and inexperienced players, only 18 and 20. I know there's lots of excitement about them. Strand Larsen got his goal at the weekend, so that's a positive for Wolves. But I feel like the players that they've been looking to sign over the past week or so feels like a bit reactive in this transfer window. Darragh O'Shea, who's gone now to Ipswich, and Aaron Ramsdale, you feel like if they really wanted these players, they could have pulled the trigger on them a little bit earlier. But Wolves have to be busy. They really need some players. Gary O'Neill has said it. They've backed him with a new contract. They need to back the manager now. Only 5 days to go.
Days, it's an easy mistake to make. Dan, Brentford.
Yeah, I think much will depend on what happens with Ivan Toney over the next week or so. If Ivan Toney moves, I think they'd have to go in the market for a striker. But I'm always just really impressed with Brentford. You look at some of the players that lined up against Liverpool yesterday, still players that got them promoted in the Championship, yet they still feel a really, really stable side. Thomas Frank's a brilliant manager, but I would say if Toney goes, they would definitely need to be in the market for a replacement for me.
Yeah, they're hoping to sign Gremio winger Gustavo Nunes for 10 million after he completed a medical over the weekend. I mean, Flex, Everton are probably the team that needs to do the most. They've made signings, but they don't play them.
They've made signings, they haven't all managed to get a chance to play. I know there's difficulties with PSR at Everton and spending caps, but you look at the alarming start to the season, the lack of goals, the lack of reliability of goals, the lack of creativity. They have got Jarrad Brantford to come back in when he comes off his injury, but at the back they're conceding goals left, right and centre, so really concerning there. And also Crystal Palace as well, I've put, because look, they've got a lot of money coming into the football club. It looks like the Mark Gahey situation may be coming to an end. You never know, you can never rule out him staying, of course, but they have to reinvest that money back into the squad to make sure they fill the holes of Elise, Anderson and potentially Gahey leaving the football club as well.
Yeah, Eddie Nketiah to Palace would be a good move, I think, just because I watched their game against West Ham on the weekend, and I mean, they were brilliant in that first half, but just lacking not clinical enough in front of goal. Dave, we've got a minute to go. Oh no, it's not. It's you. It's Dan. It's Leicester. I've had an absolute mess.
From Dave to Dan.
I'm just going to go. I'm going to go. Dan, Dave's Dan. Leicester.
I'd be worried about if I was Dave Reid. Dave Reid clearly on your mind in this show. Leicester just need to help Steve Cooper out with a striker. Daka's injured. Jamie Vardy's been struggling with injury as well. If they don't get a striker, it's going to be a long season for Leicester.
Yeah, it is going to be a very long season. So those are the 5 teams, Wolves, Brentford, Everton, Palace and Leicester, that the team think need to be the busiest in this transfer window. We'll keep you up to date with all of the latest transfers here on Sky Sports News as and when they happen. Right, Good Morning Transfers is back at the same time tomorrow at 9 a.m. We've got plenty more to come today from the team. Transfer Talk is here at 1 p.m. with European football expert Kevin Hatchard joins us. And for a full roundup of all the day's news, you can catch the Transfer Show tonight at 5 and 7 p.m.